Tonight's topic is one that I have so much to say about that I planned none of it, and we'll see. It might turn into a long meditation if I run out of stuff to talk about. But I got a question from Meryl a couple of weeks ago, and I really liked it, and I wanted to talk about it then, but I had the next two meditation talks already planned, so I skipped it along. And her question was basically about how do I have like passion and a purpose in life that I can make money from and not just hate my job and hate my life. And I have from my own experience a lot to say about this, but I'm going to recognize right from the beginning that my own experience is very much from a place of privilege where I am able to, because of lots of reasons, not the least of which is parents with money, I'm able to live my dream and not have it be a choice between I'm doing what I love and making money, or I'm doing what I love and I'm on the street. I will tell you that teaching martial arts can make you a lot of money. I can't wait for that to happen for me. It can also make so little money that the school goes out of business because you cannot afford to pay the rent and the electricity bill. We're not there. We're well past that. That was the way that we were for the first majority of year one. Was I had to get multiple loans, and I'm not the only person that has felt this way. I will say that, first of all, during the pandemic, many martial arts schools have had to close down, many businesses across the board, but definitely lots of businesses that have such a integral kind of person-to-person component to it. But we have been, I'm not going to say lucky enough because it was a lot of work, especially from the staff, but we have been fortunate enough to stay open and to have more students now than we had before COVID. But the first year that we opened, it was rough. I'm reminded about a story about my Sifu, who has more passion and purpose in his pinky than most people you will ever meet, and is very good at explaining why martial arts is so awesome, and is a very strong sense of the business side of it too, to the point where people from all over the world call for his advice on not only like how to teach, but also how to run the business part of the school. And so I was lucky enough to learn from him. But he, in his first couple of years, had this situation where they weren't making enough money, and a student of his, because he did not have parents with means, he had a student who had to come up and give him a pretty substantial loan. And I can't remember if he ended up having to pay it back, or if the student said, like, it's okay, I love what you're doing here so much, just take it. I don't know if we have any students who would feel compelled to do that, but luckily we've not had to do that. It can be rough. It can be very rough to do what you love and to make a living doing it. It is very difficult, I would say, for 99.9% of the world. It is not impossible, because what I'm going to talk about tonight is how we can at least attempt to make it possible. But it is difficult. It is a struggle. I'm absolutely not going to debate that. And I've got several people in this room who I know I've discussed this with recently, some of them on Zoom as well. So I'm going to do my best, and you're going to have to forget about the part where I was never really going to be homeless by pursuing martial arts. My Sifu's advice is basically the same advice that I give. to people who ask about this. What can I do to pursue what I love, to have a job that I enjoy, and be able to survive doing it? And there's a distinction there between being rich and I've got enough, right? Because being rich, there's no end to that. And if you're in my situation, it would become very easy to completely sell out the soul of martial arts and start just doing birthday parties and ninja night sleepovers and have a bunch of 100 kids come in, and I cut the cake with a samurai sword, and the kids jump on my back and I do push-ups, one for every year old that they're turning, and all kinds of stuff, which is very cute, and I don't have a problem with it for a couple of the pieces of it, but I have a really big problem with it as well. And if you were ever in the dojo and you saw me cutting a cake with a samurai sword or like dressed up like a clown, you would probably think, this guy's teaching me meditation, huh? This guy's in charge of like the deeper aspects of practice, and he is a clown. So there are a couple of reasons why that doesn't work. It is shooting yourself in the foot to just completely stop caring about the integrity of what you're doing and just care about the money. And if you're always interested in getting more and more money, it becomes easier and easier to forget what is important about what you do and what you love about it. I think it would not take much for me to start hating what I do if it was all about the money. So I'm going to talk about enough, not about I'm the richest person in the world, I've got the highest grossing martial arts school on the planet. It's enough. To be comfortable, to survive in LA is not nothing. And to not only have enough money, but to still love what you're doing and to connect with a passion of that you have, to whatever degree you can be passionate about your job. So the advice is, first, love what you do. And right away, I just lost 90% of you. What do you mean I can't love what I do? I hate my job. My job sucks. Okay, so then that takes us to the appendix A of this, which is, if you don't already love what you do and you cannot find a way to love what you do, then you have to change what you do. And then I lose the next 10% of you, because it's like, well, I can't quit my job. I have bills to pay. I have dogs to feed. I've got I have to have some kind of income. And absolutely, you're right. This is where it gets really tricky. So you might have to keep doing the job that you hate while you find one that you love. You might have to find something about your job that you do love. And you might have to get creative with this. You might have to change your attitude and opinion about what you do. You might have to find a way to become passionate about what you're doing. And it might be that you're connecting with your job on one level and simply thinking of it as like, this is just the thing that I have to do. And it's basically like I'm forced to show up and do it. And I'll tell you, I feel like that some days, most days not, but some days, yes. And if I felt like that every day, I do not think that I would be able to survive that way. And this is also just on a wider level about just having a happy and healthy life. If what you do for a job, and for most of us, this is the bulk of our time, if what you do for a job is unenjoyable, I'm not even talking about I'm not passionate about it. I mean, it's just, I don't like it. I don't have anything that really brings me joy about my job. Your life will suck. You will continue being unhappy for as long as you are in a job, spending most of your time doing the thing that you don't like. And while you're doing it, your whole experience of it is, this sucks. Can't wait till 5 o'clock when I get to go home. Can't wait for the weekend. It's like, and I understand that our society is set up this way, and it's a real problem in this world that we live in, and in this country, and especially in this city. I mean, you are really pushed in the direction of Happiness comes second, with your job at least. What comes first is I got to have a thing that's consistent that makes me money. And you are laughed at if you start talking about, I'm just going to do something that I love instead of waiting until I retire someday and then I get to enjoy my life. I'm just going to skip ahead to enjoy my life right now. And it's absurd. It's totally absurd in this society to think that you deserve to have a job that you love, to think that you deserve to walk into an environment and a situation that you are actually just enjoying. People think that that's ridiculous. And it's just the way that we have kind of been conditioned. And I say, forget those people. Those people being everybody else who tells you you can't do that. When I told my parents that I was going to teach martial arts, they did not think that that was a great idea. And that's the nicest way to put it. They were not like, we disown you, but it was like lukewarm reception at best, serious disappointment at worst. And it is just the way that a lot of activities that don't typically make enough money are looked at. So you could say, well, I guess I just don't need as much money. And let me tell you, that is one very helpful thing. If you don't need to be the richest person that you know, then that will open up a lot of different opportunities for you. There are some people in the world, a small portion of people who just decide, forget the whole thing. I'm out of capitalism. I don't need a job. I'm going to go live in a monastery or an ashram, or I'm going to live in the woods. And there's something that is super appealing about this. There have been many, many hours that I have spent right after having to think about money where I thought, like, why do we do this to ourselves? Why don't I just go teach martial arts in the woods? And whoever shows up, I'll teach the other hermits, I'll teach the squirrels, whoever's into it, it's cool. But I do think that it is possible to, even if you have to design a career by yourself, something that nobody else has done, it's possible to create something that you are passionate about, that you love doing, and that you get paid for. So when we talk about purpose, this is part of Meryl's question, is like the intersection between passion and money can be kind of like purpose. What is the thing that I can exist in society and survive by making enough money, but then also be passionate about? So in this context of this class, we'll use purpose to mean that. The thing that can sustain you, not just emotionally, but also monetarily, and that you can feel really passionate about and enjoy doing. So I am personally not even okay with, I got high standards, I'm not even okay with having a job that I just like. It's got to be the thing that I love the most. And so what my CFO always says is, find something that you love, something that you are passionate about, get great at it, good enough that somebody will pay you to do it. And that's it. If it's something that is so niche that literally nobody else in the world is interested in it except for you, that's going to be kind of difficult. But you might be able to find something that's pretty niche, but there's still somebody out there who's going to pay you to do it. And let me tell you, I have known some people who have gotten very creative and have done things for money that I am not going to bring up tonight. And I'm not talking about those things. I'm talking about things that you can really feel great about when you go home and tell the people in your life what you do for a living. But it requires an incredible amount of courage. If you don't have something to fall back on that you know is a guarantee, I'm not going to end up living on the street. And so this is something that I can only speculate about, because I did not have that situation. I knew that I was not going to end up homeless if I pursued martial arts. But I will tell you that I believe in my heart of hearts that even if I didn't have that backup, I would teach martial arts in the woods or in the park in Santa Monica, where there are people who will pay me to do it. And, do it for as long as it takes to save up enough money to then open up a school and pay an ungodly amount of rent every month. It is possible it might take lots of small steps to get there. But I will tell you that in my experience, when I first opened up the school, and the dojo was hemorrhaging money, and I had one person on the mats in many classes. I mean, the majority of classes was one person on the mat. When we opened up the school in Michigan, the second school that we opened up for my Sifu, we were like, oh, it's going to be kind of tough, but we'll do our best and we'll be able to pay this rent. We had 50 people sign up in the first month and another like 46 or 45 sign up in the second month. We already had enough money to pay our rent and pay the payroll after 2 months. That is unheard of with any business if you're opening like a brick and mortar location. So when I moved to LA, I'm like, this is going to be cake. I'm going to plop down this much cash, get a nice location with expensive rent, and we're going to be able to cover payroll and rent after 2 months. It's going to be so nice. It did not go down that way. And there were many days where I was out there on the mats like, what the hell? When is somebody going to show up and start, when are people like, there are 50,000 people driving by the dojo every day. Anybody just show up and start taking classes and pay me for it. But it can oftentimes be like a slog. It's a slow, kind of painful process getting to the point where there is actually enough money. But if you're keeping your attention and your intention on where you're headed rather than where you are now, and this can kind of seem to fly in the face of mindfulness, but it is very important to keep in mind, your emotional state is super important. When you have something like this that you're undertaking that is really going to take a lot of energy, and it will. If you are inventing your own career, or you're opening up a business or doing whatever it is that is so unconventional that it is a real difficult thing to do in the beginning, there are going to be so many days and weeks and months and possibly even years where you are in such a dire place that you need to keep your attention on where you're headed and get energized by that. So I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but teaching martial arts takes a decent amount of energy. And I think anything where you are passionate about it, the energy will kind of come forth naturally. If I didn't love what I do, I would not be this loud, and I would not be this excited to see you, and I would not be this excited to teach the class, and the classes would suck, and you would quit, and there would be no dojo. You will probably find the same thing with whatever it is that you're trying to do. To have that energy, you need that passion, vice versa. To have the energy to keep going, you need to keep connecting to what you're passionate about. And if you're looking at the bottom line only, and you're just seeing like how rough it is and connecting purely to the money side of it, it's going to be so rough. So there is a world where you can be kind of struggling, and maybe you set aside enough money in the beginning to start, or maybe you didn't, but you're struggling and you're like, this is where I want to be, but this is where I am now. And you're just focused on the life-sucking, draining reality of where you are now versus where you want to be. Our practice teaches us how to deal with this, especially our meditation practice, but also our physical practice, because you've all experienced this to some degree where you're humming along. Let's use meditation as an example. And you're like, I'm pretty good at this meditation stuff. But then you have a jump in your understanding of where you're supposed to be. And what that feels like in meditation is you start to recognize all the thoughts that you're having. And when you start to recognize the thoughts, you start to feel like you're backsliding, because your experience went from I'm fine to wait a minute, I'm thinking all the time. That's not what meditation is supposed to be like. And so when your understanding is here, you're looking down at this and you're thinking, I suck at this. I'm getting worse. But you have to put things into perspective and recognize that this is actually a good thing. When your understanding of what you're trying to do improves, then that is just a matter of time and effort until your ability catches up to your understanding. And then you're like, okay, I did it. I'm humming along. And then your understanding gets even better. And with meditation, this means you're recognizing even more of the thoughts. And if you are able to, I don't know, take a picture, or I guess you could actually do this with like some kind of imaging, to be able to see the amount of thoughts that you had in the very beginning of your meditation journey and compare that to where you are when you have all of this real ability to recognize and see those thoughts as they're forming. The difference would be so huge. There's so much less thought going on, but you're recognizing it more. So this is something that we see and go through in our physical practice. You're throwing your front kick and it looks like this, and you're like, my kick is amazing. It's so fast, so clean. And then someday you hear or you see something and it clicks and you're like, oh, I'm supposed to do this and this. And then you're looking at your kick and you're thinking, well, what the hell? I used to be amazing at this kick and now I suck at it. What's going on? I'm getting worse. Your understanding is improving, and you need to practice until your physical ability matches that. It's the same with anything, right? With our purpose. I'll give you me teaching martial arts as an example. You guys know the number of students that I have committed to in my life, teaching and kind of making a difference with, the number of students that I've committed to having in martial arts. Nobody knows this. I talk about it all the time. How many? Are you shaking your head and then raising your hand? 1 million students. I will tell you, we have not arrived there yet. We've gotten, as I said in class earlier today, we're at like 1,300 students that we've had total over the last 10 years. That's not nothing. It's also not 1 million. We've got a lot of work to do. Now, there are ways, and we're going to have to explore different avenues, more teaching online or whatever it means to get more people. But there are things that I will not do to sell the soul of martial arts, because then I'm not going to enjoy doing it. I'm not just going to throw videos up on YouTube and say, this is how you kill somebody in 10 seconds. I got 1 million views. Look at that. I got 1 million students. That's not the way that it's going to go. But looking at the number of 1 million versus where we are now, it can seem quite overwhelming. And if I keep looking from the place of 1 million down at the place of 1,000 and thinking, I'm not doing what I set out to do at all. This is terrible. Nobody likes me, and I'm never going to get there. I'll walk into the dojo every day really feeling like there's no energy and there's no real passion for what I'm doing. So honestly, my trick is to mostly forget about the numbers of 1 million, mostly forget about the numbers of how much money is the dojo making and all that stuff, and just focus on the personal interactions and the immense joy that I get from teaching and seeing how the students improve. But I do every once in a while think about that million and think, all right, what are the things that we need to do? How can we massage this, or how can we look at a new way of getting at more people? And that, if I look at it from the perspective of the upside rather than the downside, it's energizing. It's exciting to think from that kind of critical perspective of how can we grow this and get more, rather than how come we have so few and why does this suck so badly. My suggestion for you is that you can find a way to frame whatever your purpose is in that way. So the first step is finding what you love to do, finding what you're passionate about. And I have had this discussion with certain people who have been unable to find what they're passionate about. And I get that. What I have said to them and what I will say to you is, you're probably thinking about passion in a career from the standpoint of, what do I look around me and see other people making money doing? What do I see are the other careers that I would like to do? And maybe it doesn't exist, right? Before I taught martial arts, I worked at a grocery store pushing shopping carts. I did not like that job. I got pink eye on my first night, and I was like, what is this in my eye? And I'm pushing the shopping cart, and I must have given pink eye to the entire city that I lived in. I was like 15 years old. The next job I had was working at a phone bank, and I was calling people at night when they were eating dinner and trying to get them to give me information and taking phone surveys. That was actually kind of a sweet job. I got paid a decent amount of money. It was pretty comfortable, but was not passionate about it. And then I worked at a golf course until I crashed a golf cart into a tree and they fired me. That was my experience of what a career could be. And then I'd see my parents and I'm like, well, they don't seem that happy either. Like they're making a lot more money than me and their job is not so stupid as mine, but also it seems very stressful and kind of annoying to do what they do for a living. So I don't want that either. What is this? And so I walked into a martial arts school and I did have the benefit of seeing somebody setting a great example and like, this is somebody who loves their job and makes enough money to make it work. But my Sifu did not have that. He saw people who taught martial arts at night, but during the day they had another job. So, and that is the way that it goes with most people who teach martial arts or most people who pursue their passion. And this might be what has to happen for the entirety of you pursuing your passion and you're finding your purpose, or for at least the beginning while of it, is like, I might have this job that makes me the money, and then I got this thing that I do at night that is my purpose and my passion that I love. But I truly believe that if you get great enough at it, after you find your passion, by getting creative and kind of creating what could be a career, then it's all about just kind of keeping that energy going. And this is my personal opinion and belief. And I am not saying this to offend any of you that have normal jobs and careers, but I will tell you, if you hear what I say and you're getting defensive and you're like, yeah, but he doesn't understand. There's no way that I can make this happen. You might take a second look at this and really ask yourself, is that true? That I cannot find a way to make money doing something that I love, that I cannot make my purpose and my passion and money, career come together. And I think that you will likely discover that you are making excuses for yourself and you're throwing a pity party. So in tonight's meditation, do not sit there and just think about why you hated this talk because it made you so defensive, or sit there and think about, yeah, he's probably right. What can I find to do that makes money? You're just going to meditate. And if you have ever thought on this problem before and run into the brick wall of, this is everything that I know that, I kind of enjoy doing, and everything that I know that people make money doing, and they don't match, and I just keep running into this wall. It can be from a lack of the ability to kind of get out of the normal realm of thinking. It is something where creativity can maybe come in and play a big role. And so the relationship between meditation and creativity is not I sit there and try to think of stuff when I'm meditating. You want to get to a clearing where there's nothing in your mind. And you have this normal way of thinking, these ruts that you get into. If you can truly create a clearing in your mind where you jump out of that rut and then you finish your meditation, and maybe it's tonight or maybe it is at home later tonight or tomorrow when you meditate next time, you have written down on a piece of paper next to you or put some kind of reminder next to you. This is the thing that I want to think about as soon as I'm done meditating. You get to a clearing. You have no thoughts, nothing in the way, nothing that is going to make you attached to and stuck on your previous way of thinking. And then you look at this with fresh eyes and you take on this problem. And obviously, this is only one example of what you could tackle with this idea, but try just completely clearing everything out. Take this opportunity to just focus on the breath, let go of all of your thoughts, all of the concepts of, what a job is. And then when you're done, allow that to be the first thing that you think about, and avoid, to the best of your ability, the same traps that you fall into. After meditation, you should have that clarity of mind to recognize when your mind starts running down the same kind of pathway that it always does whenever you deal with this problem, is that, no, I'm not going that way. I'm going to try something else. And see what you come up with. And when you come up with the miracle, the career that you love and that makes you really rich, then come back and tell me about it. And if you want to give me a piece of it, I'll accept it. Sit comfortably. I'm going to leave all of this on. Meryl, go ahead and hit the lights, except for the top one, please. So we are going to do a good posture. Make sure your knees are even with or below your hips. Make sure that your back is straight, hands upturned, your eyes upturned. Relax, watch the breath. Let go of all thoughts, worries, and cares. Be here now. have a César. All right. Super right. Excellent. Have a wonderful night. See you tomorrow.